history of the Grape Festival begins in 1907. The City Fathers decided that they wanted to show the town of Lodi and the flame Tokay grapes to all the world. So they decided to hold a 3-day event which became known as the Tokay Carnival. The City Fathers did a lot of building. They built the Mission Arch on Pine Street, and they built another arch made out of wood about a half a block away, which housed 2 movie theaters, and they had dancing in the streets. There were all sorts of parades, carnival, the Queen was chosen, and everyone had a wonderful time. Unfortunately, the small town of Lodi, which existed of about 4,000 people, drew 25,000 people. So they had to set up tent housing for those people coming from the Bay Area. The City Fathers decided that they couldn't continue with the Tokay Carnival because it ended in a loss. About 30 years later, 1933, there were strikes in the fields of Lodi, and the police chief at that time was Clarence Jackson. He and his officers were trying to settle the strikes peacefully, and they were working 18-hour shifts. The strikes were settled peacefully, and he decided that because his men had worked so hard that he would throw them a large party. In order to raise money for this party, he formed the Mustachio Club, and people had to grow a mustache in order to join the club, and they paid membership fees. They used the membership fees to sponsor the first event, which was in the fall of 1934 and became known as the Lodi Grape Festival. That 3-day event was held in downtown Lodi and drew over 100,000 people.
It was all pleasurable, and everybody in town was working on it practically. We were only about 5,000 people then, and so people were eager to volunteer their efforts.
Clarence Jackson's vision for the festival was that it would get bigger and better every year, and it has. Some of the entertainment that year was Joey Brown. The famous comedian came from Hollywood. A queen was crowned and princesses, and the kiddie parade was formed.
Fascinating to be chosen a princess. Well, I enjoy the grape murals that they put on each year. I think they're fascinating.
Queen and her court were treated royally. They were given a key to the city, and every queen since then has had her name engraved on the key.
We flew to Hollywood, and we were on the Queen for a Day show, and they gave me a script to read, and when the Queen was chosen, I invited her to come to our fair for the weekend, and so she did, and we had a very nice time.
The main purpose of the Grape Festival was to promote the grape and wine industry of Lodi, and it continues to do that today.
Another way that the festival has brought the industry into the festival, having all of us directors and a lot of local wineries donate wine to build this instant wine cellar. So during the spring wine show, they sell raffle tickets, and there's one winner, and they'll raise $3,000 or $4,000 over the 2 nights for our scholarships.
My escort got his orders, I think the week that they came over to practice with us, so it would have been the week before the festival weekend. He got his orders to ship out, and he knew, we knew the whole time that he was going to have to leave. And that night we we all gathered at Bill Pisani's home, where he could play the piano, of course, for us, and had our little get-together before everybody left. And Kirby and I sat on the sofa holding hands, and we were both crying when Bill played Harbor Lights, and it was one of those memories I'll never forget that you just treasure. I always say it was my Titanic moment.
I was a little 17-year-old girl in 1947 when I became queen of the Grape and Wine Festivals. I lost so much weight that the dressmaker said she remade it 5 times before she finally got it to fit me. So they kept you busy. You had to go to different clubs and give little talks and things like that, so to make up the excitement of coming to the festival and seeing everything. So,
You know, we were one of the last years that we had the convertibles and we had the military escorts, and they were just so professional and they were so caring, and my escort watched out for me. I had a little girl walking towards me with a red candied apple, and of course we have this beautiful white dress, and I kind of went like this on my dress and pushed it down, and he just intercepted the little child and bent down and talked with her.
Pavilion was built in 1949 at a cost of $100,000. I doubt that you could add a kitchen on for $100,000 today. And in 1950, on the west side of the pavilion, John Garth painted a famous mural. He was a muralist who did paintings all over California.
To be chosen as queen, to be growing up in Lodi all those years, and to see the queen every year and the princesses, and to wonder every year who is the queen and who are the princesses, that was always an exciting time every time the Grape Festival rolled around for me. And to decide to try to run for queen, I thought, well, it's a long shot, but I'll go for it. And that night alone was special for me.
And I do remember the night that I was chosen, because they asked you a question. They had this fishbowl with these questions in it, and you just got one and you drew it, okay? And my question was, for what reason would you give up the crown? And I just kind of stopped for a moment and I thought, and I kind of just blurted out, I said, well, all I can think of is I haven't even won it yet, and you guys are trying to take it away from me.
In 1976, because of the popularity of the Grape Festival, another day was added. In 1980, the first spring wine show was held. There were approximately 700 people that attended. The 2012 event drew over 4,000 people. As of 2012, we celebrate 75 years of wonderful memories.
Very proud of this organization in that we're totally financially self-sufficient. Mark Armstrong has set up a wonderful venue here where we have basketball tournaments almost year-round. Our job is mainly to oversee what does happen, and when things are running well, it makes your job a lot easier.
The last parade was held in 2005. The last queen, Angela Paresis, was elected in 1980.
And hearing that it was going to come to an end primarily because of funding, and we were told a lack of community support, which was very surprising to me because I had experienced completely the opposite. It was kind of a sad end to my reign, but was so much fun and such a childhood dream come true.
In the fall of 1993, another director and myself were chairman of the parade, and it looked like it might rain. So we decided we needed to ask the older directors what would happen if it rained. So it was then that I decided that we needed to write these things down for future generations. I went to Mark Armstrong, who's our secretary manager, and he said he thought it was a great idea. The idea built, and we decided to start a memorabilia museum that was established in 1994. We have a lot of history here at the Grape Festival. The museum continues to grow and prosper today, and if you come to visit the museum during the Grape Festival, you're going to find it's very crowded in there.
Every September we go through and change the pictures, the dresses, everything changes in here. We have just started doing that for the last 5 years. So when people come through, there's always something fresh, something new to look at.
And as a young man, I used to ride my bike over here from Lodi Lake, and I would help the amusement guys, the Butler amusement guys. I'd just kind of be the gopher, kind of the guy, hand me this wrench, hand me this box, and for that I get passes for the rides in the carnival. So that's kind of how I started coming here now, and now that I'm involved on the other side, on the director side, and see more of the workings, the internal workings of staff, decisions they make on everything from entertainment to vendors to attractions, pretty interesting to see it in both perspectives, both from the attendance side and from being on the board side.
I've been bringing my kids back to the Grape Festival. In fact, I remember one of the reunions with the Queens when they still had the parade is, my daughter was probably 5 years old and she had no idea what the whole festival and parade was about. And taking her to the parade and then seeing her mom in a car and my husband explaining to her, saying, she goes, "Why is mommy in the car?" "Well, your mommy was a queen." "That I'm a princess. And it's something, it's a nickname that we've held on to for her because she's the only girl. She has brothers. But just that whole Americana of how special Lodi is. And coming back, it's still special.
When I was the queen at that time, you're only 18 years old. You're really not thinking about the long term, the history of it. You don't really have that mindset. But now, I'm a director here at the festival now. I'm on the executive board, and I think I'm trying to just keep everything going like we remembered it.